In this section, we're going to be adding fractions that are unlike fractions. They do not have the same denominator. Let's start by adding 1/2 plus 2/3. In order to add fractions, you need to have a common denominator. You need to have what we call the least common denominator of these two fractions. We need to find out what is the least common multiple between these denominators, 2 and 3. Well, 2 and 3 both go into 6. So I'm going to rewrite each of these fractions to be over the denominator 6. Now, in order to do this, I ask, how has each denominator changed? This first denominator is going from a 2 to a 6. Down below in the denominator, we're multiplying by 3. So we're going to multiply the whole fraction by 3 over 3. Again, this is like multiplying by 1. And 1/2 times 1 is still 1/2, but this will be written in a different form. 3 times 1 is 3. Likewise, over here at the right, 3 times what makes 6? 3 times 2 makes 6. So we're going to multiply this fraction by 2 over 2. And 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Now that we have a common denominator, we can add across, keeping that denominator of 6. And 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. And 7 over 6 is our solution. We're not going to convert that to a mixed number unless we're told to do so. Now let me show you what we're doing algebraically. Let's say we have A over B plus C over D. Now I know that this is kind of scary here because I've got algebra, I've got letters involved, but don't worry about this. Let's just take the same concept. If we're learning this now with numbers, the concepts with algebra, which you don't need in this class, should be understandable. What do B and D both go into? Well, up here with 2 and 3, we multiplied 2 and 3 together to get 6. So how about we multiply B and D together to have just BD? Likewise, we say, okay, how has this fraction changed? Down below in the first fraction, we've multiplied by D. So if you multiply by D in the denominator, let's multiply by D in the numerator. So we can have DA, or we can rewrite that as AD. I'm going to write that as AD. Then, D times what makes BD? Well, we're going to multiply by B. And I have C times B. And I'd rather have the B written before the C, so I'm going to write that as BC. Now we've got our common denominator of BD, which we will keep. And we're going to add our numerators together and have AD plus BC. Now I know that's a little bit scary, but I'd like you to pause the video for a moment and just kind of stare at it. Compare it with the problem above until it kind of sinks in. We won't touch this algebra again, but if you understand this, then you're really a step ahead when it comes to the algebra in your next class. Now let's add fractions again, 3/4 plus 5/8, but this time I'm not going to multiply 4 and 8 together and use a common denominator of 32. 4 goes into 8. The least common multiple of 4 and 8 is 8. So I'm going to rewrite each of these to be over 8, and that second fraction already over 8 will stay 5/8. We only need to change the first fraction. Now to go from 4 to 8 in the denominator, we're multiplying by 2 down in the denominator, so we'll multiply by 2 up in the numerator, and 2 times 3 gives us 6. Now we can add together. 6 plus 5 is equal to 11, and don't add and get 16, keep that over the common denominator 8. Let's try another, but this time we're going to have some larger denominators. Let's go with 11/18 plus 7/20. Ooh, yuck. 18 and 20, what do they both go into? I don't know. So let's go off to the side and find their least common multiple. Remember the method I gave you in another video where we list out 18 and 20, we divide out a common factor such as 2. 2 goes into 18 9 times, 2 goes into 20 10 times. Now there are no common factors between 9 and 10, so I can just multiply 2, 9, and 10 together to get 180. That is our least common denominator. So I'm going to rewrite each of these over 180. This first fraction needs to be changed. The denominator 18 has been multiplied by 10, so we will multiply both the numerator and denominator by 10. 10 times 11 is 110. And in the second fraction, 20 times 9 is 180. So we will multiply by 9 over 9. 7 times 9 is equal to 63. Now we can add our numerators together, keep the denominator of 180. 110 plus 63 is 173. So anytime these fractions look yucky, so to speak, you can find the least common multiple yourself using whatever method you like. If you know your times tables real well, you can go that route and add it together in this manner. Now, subtraction works in the very same way. You need to have a common denominator. 5, it turns out, goes into 20, so we can use 20 as that least common denominator. Rewrite the first fraction just as it is, but rewrite the second one to be over 20. To go from 5 to 20, we've multiplied by 4, so we will multiply both the numerator and the denominator here by 4, and 2 times 4 gives us 8. Now we can subtract across the numerators. 11 minus 8 is equal to 3, and that gives us 3/20. One more. Here we go. Let's go with 5/7 minus 2/3. Okay, 3 doesn't go into 7. I need a common denominator that both 7 and 3 both go into, which turns out to be 21. So let's rewrite each of these over 21. Put the subtraction sign between them. To go from 7 to 21 down in the denominator, we've multiplied by 3. So this first fraction will get multiplied by 3 over 3, which gives us 15 over 21. The second fraction, to go from 3 to 21, we've multiplied by 7. So we're going to multiply the fraction by 7 over 7. 2 times 7 is equal to 14. Now we've got our common denominator. We can subtract in the numerators to get 1 and write that over the common denominator of 21.